Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you another RWBY theory video. And this one is revolving around Ren, or more accurately, his new semblance ability. That being able to see petals and emotions from the people he focuses on. Now, before I get started, I have to say that this is purely my interpretation based on what little information we've been given so far about this semblance. But, in my opinion, and as I've seen several other people say, these different colored petals all likely relate to different emotions. Whereas there's a set color for emotions and they sort of like mix and change, go on gradients for mixed emotions. So in Volume 8, Episode 7, we saw that Ren's semblance evolved from tranquility, that being able to calm down everyone that his semblance is affecting, evolved into sort of empathy, I guess. The ability to see emotions, to recognize them, and to feel those emotions himself. I'm taking it upon myself to try and figure out exactly what emotions these petals relate to. I'll be doing it in order of the color that we see, so it's red, orange, blue, green, then pink. So first up, we have red, which flows quickly upwards. Red is one of the most obvious colors to equate to emotion, because just thinking of red invokes anger, or is associated mostly with anger or rage, which fits Harriet well, as she is the person we first see with it, and it fits Elm well as well, especially in the context through which we are seeing these petals, where Ren straight up says, "You're furious for losing Clover." But red also is related to love, which, while not instantly obvious in relation to Harriet, could imply that she had more feelings for Clover than she let on. I'm not going to get into that much this video. It may be a future video, it may not, but those are the most likely candidates for red: anger, passion, or love. Next up we have orange, which flows in the same way as red, though maybe a little bit slower. It was hard to tell. Orange is usually associated with excitement, enthusiasm, or warmth. The first two can also be used to describe both Harriet and Elm, as we see a combination of red and orange petals with both of them. Elm having more orange petals than Harriet, as it was once Ren said she was furious about losing Clover that the orange petals started flowing around Harriet, and once Ren calls Elm out about them losing to Team RWBY, her orange shifts to red. I want to look at excitement and warmth as, while neither of them feel excitement, it's the fact that Ren is calling out that they care about each other, and the excitement of that being known without them having to actively put their emotions on the front line. You can see how they'd be happy and excited that these people care about them in the same way that they care about them. And Elm was acting in a very warm way towards Yang, as she looked sad and condolence that Oscar had been taken, that they wanted to go after him, hinting at the revelation that, yeah, she's in the same boat as them, or has been, but because of what she's expected to do, she can't act on it. So she's projecting what she wishes people would do to her onto Yang in a warm way. Which is why her main colour was orange as opposed to Harriet's red. The next colour we see is blue. Now technically we see two people with blue, but we only see it showcased solely on one person, and that is Marrow. And blue petals, they slowly float downwards. Now, there are many different shades of blue, like there are of red and orange, but Marrow, he had dark blue, whereas the red and orange were mid. Dark blue is usually associated with feelings of sadness or loneliness, which is very accurate when you think about how Marrow has been acting the past volume and a half. I mean, he had to arrest his new friends. He found out that the leader he admired most had been killed. His teammates act like they don't care about the fact that their leader had been killed. And a bunch of other stuff that's happened to him in the span of the last month, I'd say. And there's also the fact that he knows he's only there because a member of their team had died previously. So he has a lot of sadness, and he feels isolated from the group because he feels that they don't care about him while he cares about everyone. Next up, we have green petals, and these are showcased with vine. Now, these are a light green, sort of lime colour, and these circle around a person. It wasn't clear whether they were actually losing any height. They just seemed to be in a continuous spiral. And this was the most difficult one for me to place, because light green doesn't really have a set emotion to it. You've got mid to dark green, which is usually associated with envy and jealousy, but he had lime. I'm going to place this as a sort of apathy or indifference, because, well, that is how Vine acts around a lot of situations. He acts very indifferent, he's very level-headed, no nonsense, doesn't show any emotion, so apathy and indifference seem to work for him. And I have seen a theory. This is building off what I said I wasn't going to be talking about with Harriet, but I've seen theories that maybe the reason that Harriet and Elm had the red petals mixed with orange is sort of because they did have loving feelings for Clover, and Vine knew this, hence his green petals could be jealousy. Though, I don't know how much I believe this, and so that's all I'm going to say about it. The final petal colour that we see is pink, and these are floated around Ren himself. They are floating downwards, similar to how the dark blue ones were, and these are more likely to be petals of love than the red ones are. But because of the usual connotation between red and love, I had to make that statement clear. But also pink and love is very common as well. And there's the fact that we see in the opening a pink petal fly past Nora towards Ren, and a pink petal land in Ren's hand. So it's very not prominent. So it's very obvious that this is the petal for love, as it's very implied that it's Renora. Now, we do see one more person with petals, which I want to point out that Ren seems to be able to focus whose petals he wants to see at a time. And I say this because when he was looking at Harriet, Mara was directly behind her, yet he could only see Harriet's petals, and when he looked at Mara, hers no longer showed up. Then it shifts to Vine, Yang, Elm, and he looks at Elm's petals, doesn't see any on Yang, and then sees Vine's. So it seems that he's able to choose whether he sees a person's emotions or not, and it's likely he can only see one person's emotions at a time. And it's not limited to one emotion, obviously, because he looks at Winter just before he leaves the plane, and he sees that she has red petals, orange petals, blue petals, and green petals floating around her. Now, I know what I said, that these are either hidden emotions or the most prominent emotions, but it's very confusing with Winter because we see her with these emotions all the time. We see her acting in anger. We see her compassion for others and her warmth. We see her love for others. We see immense sadness in her. We see her apathy most commonly. So the fact that she shows all of these is that either she is suppressing everything at the moment, or she is the most in check with her emotions out of everyone that was on that plane. Which, yeah, I can see. It could also be that he's only seeing the emotions they are currently feeling. That is the third option. So, Winter could be feeling anger at James for the fact that he's sending them on a suicide mission. She's feeling compassionate and warm towards the kids as they're going to risk their lives to help her and try and save their friend. She's feeling sad that she's being sent on a suicide mission and that these kids are risking their lives, and she's just feeling numb to everything else, and she's putting on an apathetic exterior so that she doesn't betray her positioning. Now, there are obviously an abundance of emotions and an abundance of colors that could be explored in future future episodes and that, such as avarice, disgust, fear. We've also got the main 6 colors, purple and yellow, but there's also the hues and the shades and brown. But for now, this is all I'm able to theorize on from what we've been shown. So I'll pass it on to you guys now. If you have any other emotions that may be related to the petals that we saw, or you think that, or you can try and find some combinations of different emotions and colors that may be explored in the future, comment them down below because I'd love to discuss them with you. And I'm going to end this episode with a question for you. If Ren looked at Salem, what emotions would he see? And also, would the tranquility aspect of his semblance block her from seeing him? That's actually 2 questions. Comment them down below. Comment your answers. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.